If you're having problems making your webtoon or comics action scene dynamic and powerful, then I have a few easy tips that will get you pointed in the right direction, or punching in the right direction. Hey, Walter here, and today we're going to tackle action scenes. I've made 2 other videos about action scenes, so make sure you check those out also. I'm also going to tell you the easiest way to get good at drawing action scenes at the end of this video. But before you can start that, you need to know what makes an action scene work. If you want a successful action scene, you're going to need movement, impact, and clarity, or mic for short. So if you draw a dope action scene, you can drop the mic and you achieve a mic drop via composition, poses, and effects. I think the best way to show this is going to be via example. So here's an action panel. It's not overly dynamic, but it's doing the job. We can see a person is blocking another person's punch. Now we could compose it differently, maybe move them closer together and maybe zoom in some, like the reader is right there. The danger feels a little bit more immediate. It's the difference between hearing people shouting down the street and having someone just shouting in your face. But we can change the composition even more to really up that sense of danger. Like, what if we angle the camera a little bit? Now this punch is also aimed at the reader, much more danger for the reader. Now that our composition is set, let's go ahead and try pushing these poses. Not all punches are created equal. Right now we got like a level 1 punch, so let's upgrade that a bit. Okay, so this dude is really swinging now. But let's also change the blocker's pose. Like, they're really worried that this punch is gonna break their brain or something, so they're really trying to protect it. And the poses aren't just for the body, they're for the face as well. A great expression can really sell a scene. Now, since the poses are different, let's clean up the composition some, just to make them fill out the panel a little bit more. Let's also make the puncher bigger, more in the reader's face. So our poses are looking better now. The next thing we wanna do is up the effects. Now this can be speed lines, blur lines, energy rays, dust particles, whatever, just visual noise that turns the dial up to 11. And there's all kinds of options with this one. A simple one is going to be like motion blur. It shows the reader that the puncher made a really big swing. There's also using actual blurs if you want to do that. There's also a smaller version of doing a blur that looks kind of like this. Another method is going to be with some squiggles, and this is my favorite just because it's fun to do and I think it looks cool. Or you could use some kind of combination of both. Next up is speed lines, and there's a few different ways you can do this. First, you could have them radiate out of the area of impact. You could have them radiate out of the face or the fist, but I think the impact site makes the most sense in this panel. Another option would be to do speed lines that move in the direction that is most closely related to the action or the pose's direction. And this is what I usually do because I think parallel lines have their own momentum that is added to the image versus the radiating lines that kind of just pull a reader into a static spot. Not that the radiating speed lines aren't useful. I like them for things that are like charging up or exploding, or things that are moving towards the camera directly instead of left or right. I did a video about speed lines, so check that out for more details. The links will be in the description below. Now we could do other stuff, like maybe the punch was so strong that it picked up trash and rocks. We could also do some type of motion blurring on the blocker's arm as well. Like, it was hit so hard, you know, the arm molecules started shifting. So this is what we started with, and this is where we ended up. You know, we found a good composition, we pushed the poses, and we added some effects. Though I want to be clear, the new version isn't any better than the original. There could be times that the original version makes more sense for storytelling reasons. Or maybe you don't have the time to draw a crazy punch and just need to finish a panel really quickly. That is valid. Now with composition, it isn't just the composition of a panel, it's the composition of the entire scene. Let's take a look at this sequence. Nothing wrong with it, it's perfectly serviceable. But if you stare at it for a bit, you'll notice that the characters in every panel are around the same size. We want to create movement, but we didn't move the camera around. We kept it locked into the same distance from the characters each time. However, if we switch things up and do wide shots and close-ups along with the mid shots, it starts creating its own movement. The reader is sort of being pulled around as the camera moves around. Distance of the camera to the object begins to tell its own story. we zoom in on a face, the reader's brain realizes that it must be important. We zoom out to show a fireball, the reader's brain is like, oh, it must be a huge fireball. This low angle of the feet shows the beat up dude is symbolically weaker or even under the heel. And again, both versions are fine. A combination would be fine. They both tell the same story and the story is clear. And really that's the most important thing, that the story is clear. You could draw the most amazing punch ever, but if you can't tell what it is, then you didn't tell the story very well. Sometimes this could be because you're zoomed in too close, or you're picking a bad angle, or just putting too much blur on it, who knows. Now the best way to get good at drawing action scenes is just to draw a bunch of really bad action scenes. So that should be really easy, right? Like, over time, you're going to get this backlog of scenes that you didn't draw very well. You're going to lay awake at night thinking about why you couldn't get that scene to work. And then one day, when you're reading someone else's comic, you'll see that they did a similar scene and you'll see how they solved that puzzle. And now you'll know how to solve your own puzzle. But if you hadn't drawn that bad action scene before, you wouldn't have known it was a puzzle you needed to solve, and you wouldn't have realized it when someone else solved it. Of course, it's really important that you have a solid story element to the action. Otherwise, it's just meaningless jumping around. But that's a topic for a completely different video. So with a good story, even a lame action scene can be amazing. Also, there isn't only one way to draw an action scene. You'll develop your own style and your own techniques for cool action scenes the same way you develop your own style of drawing eyes and hands, or the unique way that you tell stories. So your action scenes may not look like the ones from a Superman comic, but that's totally fine. Everything is just fine. You know what else is fine? Supporting my Patreon, because it helps me keep making these videos, and you get to join my Patreon only Discord, and you get portfolio reviews and mentorships and other stuff over there too. And if you want another way to support this channel, please like, comment, and share this video, because like I always say, if you want to keep making comics easier, be sure to like, link, love, hug, and hit that sub button for more sweet, sweet goodness. If you look at a drawing you just finished and it looks like poo-poo, congratulations, you just became a better artist. 10,000 more bad, ugly drawings and you're gonna become a pro. Catch you in the next video. Peace.